Hello, I am Bidisha Shom. I am a professor of linguistics in the Department of HSS, Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Guwahati. Me and my group work on linguistics, and specifically within linguistics we work on psycholinguistics. And some of my students within the group are focused on bilingual language processing. Bilingual language processing primarily means how we comprehend and produce language and what are the factors that might have an impact on the way we process. So in India we have most of the people are bilingual, at least bilingual. Many are multilingual. So we try to see through experimental methods what are the factors, be it social factor, be it cultural factor, be it linguistic factors. Linguistic factors, for example, the number of languages that you speak, how they are different from each other, the kind of language switching pattern that might exist. So these are the ones. Cultural and social factors might be, the relative dominance among the languages, how often we use, and multiple other layers. It's a layered structure. So we try to use those background information in the experimental setup and see how bilingual participants in our experiments process language, how they understand and how they react, how they produce language. And based on these findings, we try to give an overview about how Indian bilingualism really works. Because in psycholinguistics, language structure and language processing, as in language use, takes you directly to the way the mind works. Attention mechanism, executive control mechanism, and so on and so forth. So she is Dr. Opangenla. She has done her PhD with me, and after teaching in a college for some time, she has come back as a postdoctoral fellow in the department. So her work looked at different Naga groups, language groups, bilingual Naga language groups. It's a very interesting study where she explored the different social background, socio-cultural context, and tried to see how it impacts, or whether it impacts at all, the language processing among the different bilingual groups. So starting from Sangtam Ao to we had Rongmei Meitei bilinguals, and we also had Ao English bilinguals and Nagamese. So she explored a lot of different shades of bilingualism within Naga community and came up with some really interesting studies, one of which was recently published. Others have been published before. So that is how we look at bilingualism. Specifically, our group's work is specifically focused on the Northeast India. So
my name is Opangila Gichu, and I'm a postdoctoral fellow at the Language and Cognition Lab at HSS department in IIT Guwahati. In this study, we investigated the role of cultural cues on bilingual language processing. Most of the research or studies on this area is done in Western countries with immigrant populations like Chinese English and Spanish English bilinguals. The participants in this study were Rongmei Meitei and bilinguals. This study is unique because such a study has not been done in India. In our study were different from the previous studies because the two population under study are from the same geographical location, unlike Chinese and English bilinguals who are culturally as well as geographically distant. So despite the geographical proximity, we found that the cultural cues still had an effect on the on the language processing of these bilinguals.
We have to simplify the findings of our study. It is like the bilingual group that we studied was living in close proximity with each other. So the Meitei and the Rongmei bilinguals. So there is a lot of give and take between the communities. However, we see that in the processing strategy, and that too in the old and the young group, they differed. So the processing strategy is very, very seriously affected by the cultural cues. So Rongmei cultural cue affects Meitei processing and the other way around. which is strange because they have been living together for God knows how long. It's been very like for millennia. So this kind of disparity is actually not visible in the real life, but we see in experimental setup that even subtle differences, distinctness in terms of cultural identities do matter in terms of language processing. So that is the main finding of the study.